Neil Lawson, chair of Compass, joins us here in the studio. Now, alongside him is a former Bank of England official who says the government has no choice but to stick with Plan A's austerity measures. Brian Hilliard is chief UK economist at Societe Generale. Thank you so much to you both for coming here on the program. Brian, I want to start with you because actually, does this reinforce your position that if we look at today's GDP figures, right, they're gaining some 0.5%. Economists were expecting a 0.3% increase. So actually, we're not doing too bad.
We're doing okay, but the risks are on the downside, and that's certain from the Eurozone crisis and the fresh intensification of that today. So we're not in a good position at all, but for me, the point is we are getting the benefit of very, very low bond yields because we're sticking to Plan A.
And so you don't want to veer away from that. Now, Neil, you have a completely different take on this. You were part, actually, of this letter that was published in The Guardian with 100 economists, of course, asking for the Chancellor to go to a Plan B. Is it not dangerous at this point in time to go to a Plan B? Because actually what the markets want is certainty, and that's very, maybe the most essential thing.
Well, the government's really given in on Plan A already. They're not going to call it Plan B, but they're going to increase quantitative easing, they're going to increase credit easing, they're going to bring forward investment projects. They're going to start doing many of the things that we put in our document because they know the economy is stalling, the job rate, loss rate is going to increase, we're just going to suck money out, we're going to lose revenues. Everyone's going to move to something like a Plan B because we have to. This is the longest running recession in 100 years.
But
normally we recover.
You wouldn't actually hear the government say that we're switching plans. I mean, they're still on the line of we're cutting the deficit.
They've got. Look, if you suck this much money out of the economy this quickly, unprecedented, it's going to have a huge impact on GDP growth. There's, everyone accepts that. And so, what do they expect? A recovery when they're sucking out, around 2% from GDP? We reckon that's going to take £100 billion out of the economy in the lifetime of this Parliament. It's not working. They know it's not working. For PR reasons, they're not going to call it Plan B, but they'll get pretty close to it.
I guess the trick is to give the markets the idea that, of course, that they're still cutting, but not cutting enough to significantly impact growth.
Well, no, I think there's a genuinely held belief that the fiscal austerity package is necessary, and I agree with that. The point is Plan B is not a change in the fiscal position. Plan B, as you're describing it, Neil, is about monetary easing, and that is completely taken on board. We've already got quantitative easing, and I expect that 75 billion to be doubled to 150 billion in January or February. Also credit easing, a good idea. I'm sceptical how powerful it will be or how quick it will be, but all the emphasis on easing is on the monetary side, not on the fiscal side.
I guess as it should, and it's what the ECB hasn't been doing. So we're in a lucky position in the Bank of England where they've actually seen the severity of the situation. Well,
let me be clear. We're saying stop cutting. We think the cuts are going to make things worse. We can address the structural deficit when the economy is growing. And in every country where you've seen governments go for this level of austerity, that the reaction of the bond market has been worse than if they'd have had some kind of plan for growth.
But there's stability, because what we don't want, I guess, is what Mr. Berlusconi has been doing, is saying one day we're going to cut by this much, and the next day, because of protests, saying actually we're not going to cut by that much. And so the markets have no idea where they are, and this is when they really get hit.
Well, we're nowhere near the Berlusconi situation. I think when we get to the November 29 autumn statement, we will see Osborne putting on a caring face, talking about credit easing, but he's going to stick to this fiscal path. We will have lower growth forecasts, but I think the OBR will still judge that the fiscal mandate is being met.
Can you not continue cutting public service jobs at the same time trying to somehow create private jobs?
Well, I mean, clearly the government are beginning to recognise that they're going to have to bring forward investment projects. They've started to do this, not on the scale that we'd want, not in the areas we want, but they're starting to do that. Why do we want to take people out of valuable public service jobs, which then cost, in effect, £20,000 a year to put them on the dole? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The recession would just continue and could spiral out of control. These figures today aren't bad. We don't know the underlying elements of it, but they could work. There is still a very good chance of a double dip.
But I guess the thing is, it's one of the first times where we're seeing a slow growth or recession coupled also by market sentiment. And it's the first time that we heard, for example, the French President Nicolas Sarkozy saying we gave a clear signal to the market. So how much emphasis do these politicians have to also put on the markets?
A massive amount, but the point is the markets are giving us a positive response by bringing down bond yields. Now, the point is that the fiscal path is generating low bond yields, which are normally seen as the preserve of monetary policy. After all, what is QE meant to be doing? It's meant to be bringing down bond yields. That's what we're getting from the fiscal path.
We're a safe haven, aren't we now, in the UK? That seems pretty incredible.
Sorry, what was
a haven. We're considered like Switzerland. Bond yields are down. The pound is not a bad value.
I think we're pretending that we're isolated from, what's going on the continent. All of that's going to rebound. If it goes bad, it's going to rebound very badly on the British economy and the British banks. And we're not. We're as up to our neck in this as everybody else.
Well, I think nobody's disputing that we're umbilically tied to the Eurozone, and that's the point that Mervyn King has been making repeatedly, and that is why we're easing on the monetary side. So there's a deal. Tight fiscal policy, loose monetary policy for a long, long time.
Just in 10 seconds, if we continue this way, so keep with the austerity measures and the budget cuts, what is the chance that we're going to see a recession in the next 6 months?
Well, I think very strong. All the numbers, are heading in that direction. It just seems to make no sense whatever, sucking money out when we need to put money in.
Brian, recession or no recession?
25% risk.
All right, great. Thank you so much to you both. Thanks again for joining us this morning. Brian Hilliard there, Chief UK Economist at Societe Generale, and Neil Lawson, Chairman of Compass.